All right. Well, Loic, we don't have a glass of champagne to celebrate now. It's 9 in the morning for me, so it's a little early for that. But this is the first call, true first call post deal done. So,
The
to you and
apps,
congratulations.
thanks. Thanks. Really happy for that. And yeah, I think it's a done deal now. We are ready to just to move on and to build stuff.
Tell us a little bit about, why you built 365, how it all came together, a little bit of the background of the company.
Yeah. At 365 Talents, we've been in the skills space forever. We were pretty much the pioneers. We were the first a few years ago, but when I say a few, it's almost 10 years ago, to say, okay, let's leverage AI and build something meaningful around skills information and skills data in large organizations. And when we were saying that, we were exploring some really smart use cases around talent mobility, career development, workforce planning. And we were entering the entire talent space and always touching another space, which was not exactly our space, not too far, but really exciting. And that was the learning space. Because our vision was to identify skills gap, to work on solving these skills gaps by finding meaningful talent mobility options or career development options. But what a better way to fill in a gap than upskill people or reskill people. So that's a natural transition we've been considering for some time. And I mean, we met you guys, and it appeared to be pretty much the perfect fit. So that's
Of
it.
course.
That's how we get
One
here.
of, one of the things that we talked about in our conversations, of course, it's the adjacency and the obvious integration that we see from a use case standpoint. But there is also an element of strategic go-to-market and how we've built our respective products, 365 and Docebo. Um, why did you choose to target the enterprise business? And I think, what did you learn from working with companies like Société Générale, Orange, Crédit Agricole, Veolia? I mean, these are massive companies with an enormous people complexity. What are some
Yeah.
takeaways and lessons learned that you've had?
Is the question, are you crazy, Loïc? And why did you do that? Uh, that's a choice from day one. When we partnered and incorporated the company with Paul and Mathieu, my two co-founders, we were a little bit exploring all options, but we had an enterprise background. Me, as a strategic consultant, I was working with enterprise, and that was pretty much where I found that the need for an intelligence layer on skills was critical, because information is lost in translation in such big organizations, and the systems in place were not delivering value at all on this info. So there was a natural sweet spot plus a personal sweet spot because we knew how to deal with this complexity. And it turned out to be the best spot ever because I like to tell and say we climbed we went to the top of the Everest with the North Face route. So we took some really hard ways to get there, but then you just have to snowboard or to ski down the hill, and that's what we love to do. So that's what we have been doing.
I love the skiing analogy. We spoke also a lot about culture over the past few months, and when we considering this partnership. And how would you define the culture you built at 365?
Yeah, I would say it's a natural match with who we are as founders, and we've built a company and a culture with people that are really spending time with us. There are different types of culture in the startup and scale-up world. We've built something really meaningful where people really like to work together. And we've been with most of our people for more than 3, 4 years. And that's why also building a really comprehensive story with you guys was important for us and see seeing a connection in the culture was really essential in our decision to partner with you. But our culture is based on a few values that we don't put on all walls, but we live with them. So it's transparency, it's positivity, it's like accountability. We like to do things and do the things and say the things and do the things we say and vice versa. And also we have a really important value, which is humility. And it doesn't mean we don't want to brag a little bit when we can. It doesn't mean we don't do great stuff, but it means that we know it's way more powerful to be humble, to demonstrate, and then to have impact than doing the opposite and trying to pretend. And in the world of tech we are in HR tech, in tech, in AI, that's essential because nobody wants to be, just uh, captivated by a message or any product marketing beauty and then disappointed by what the product and the tech really delivers. And that's who we are. We really like to be this humble kind of uh, um, um, like tech and value provider to our customers.
Under promise and over deliver. I think it's
Uh,
a great
Absolutely.
rule.
But
Great rule.
sorry, and I guess that's really much aligned with your culture, right? Could you iterate on that?
What? Yeah, I would just add one thing because when we were together in the boardroom, we actually did whiteboard our respective values and we talked to it. There's one element that I was impressed with when talking to your customers, and there seemed to be a genuine love, really, not only for the product but also for the people at 365. And in my opinion, when a customer shares that sentiment of being really impressed with the people, it's because the leadership and the company as a whole is aligned with on the importance of the customer. And that, as you know, I'm really extremely focused on that. It's a cultural pillar at Docebo. We want to do better, better, better every day and improve on that front every day because, without happy customers, it's really difficult to build a successful company. And so, tell me a little bit about it. How did it come? How is it? How is this something? This passion for the customer really carried forward in the business?
Yeah. I was the first customer success in the company. We were only three founders. I was the one in charge of marketing, finance, and operations. And with operations, I was the one rolling out the platform at customers. And I loved that time. I loved it. That was pretty much the most intense moment. When you were sitting in a customer's room and boardroom and having product conversation, thinking of all the ideas that were coming in, filtering the ideas, deciding whether they were good ideas, bad ideas, if Paul, who was building the product, would be happy with these ideas or not. And doing this, real-time decision making has always been really part of the fun I had in building the company and building things with customers. And I think we've built the entire customer success and customer operations around that. So having meaningful, honest, transparent conversations with customer and taking feedback, filtering, saying no to customers, saying yes, we can, but not now, or saying no, we don't believe it's a good idea, and this is why. So having this conversation, I think that's what built the entire way of doing things with customers at 365 Talents, from a product, even from a sales perspective to a tech perspective, engineering perspective, and product perspective. So it's definitely a broad approach and not only a customer success operations approach.
So, skills intelligence is a relatively new category. Um, Tell us a little bit about how it came together. You guys have been pioneering the concept of skills intelligence for a long time, especially in France, where a lot of your customers are based, these really large organizations. But really globally, you've invested in your positioning in that market. For those that are not yet familiar with the concept of skills intelligence, what are the key use cases that are enabled, activated, unlocked using 365 today?
Yeah, it's a broad domain, right? You cannot say, okay, skills intelligence is serving only one use case. It's definitely serving a lot of different use cases. So the entire space is called the skills-based organization, and that's pretty much a North Star that all large enterprises, all mid enterprises, all enterprises, and all companies want to access. Um, the skills-based organization is literally how to turn anything in your HR practices in a more meaningful way, leveraging skills data. So it covers use cases ranging from TA, talent acquisition. You can have a skills-based talent acquisition motion to strategic workforce planning. It's essential to understand the skills you have, the skills you don't, the skills you'll need, the skills that you will be lacking in a few years, depending on your strategic plans. But it goes also into internal mobility and staffing of your projects or gigs or missions, because if you have a skills-based approach, you will have more agility in fulfilling your roles and finding the good match because you won't be too stuck with roles or titles. It opens up a lot of possibilities. And of course, other use cases around career development, career passing. You could do that on a job level, but doing that at a skill level brings way more options. And finally, upskilling, reskilling. I mean, it's skills based by definition. There is skill in the world itself, like upskilling, reskilling. So it's skills based by essence. So it really serves a broad transformation of all the HR and talent processes.
And when it comes to use cases within skills intelligence, there is the a critical moment in that phase is also identifying skills gaps and understanding and recognizing whether it's part of our skills architecture job or part of our workforce planning, strategic workforce planning, realizing what we need to do to be ready for a goal that may be short term or longer term in terms of readiness. Nowadays, in this world, we have everyone faces the need to be AI ready. For example, that's the most simple example that everybody would understand. But when you abstract this to many verticals before AI companies. We live in a world in which, just in North America alone, about 70 million baby boomers are about to retire within the next 4-year time frame. And that's a significant shift in the market. It is our point of view jointly that by combining 365 and Docebo, we now have an opportunity to create a unified platform that really connects the skills intelligence aspect with the learning fulfillment aspect. Now, in terms of integration of the two platforms, where do you see the biggest opportunities, Loic?
Yeah. I think the first thing is having two great products that run perfectly and serve perfect use cases for customers. And we already have some customers in common, right? So we can tell the world it works and it works well. And I think that's just a proof point of how relevant our Better Together story is, that it already exists actually. Then seeing that, okay, you can have even better data flows in between platforms, you can have better UX integration, of course, and that's really significant and really smart to do that. And we are already building some really amazing stuff in that sense. But I think in the future, we'll have some blending and natural blending to offer comprehensive workforce or talent readiness platform to the market so that they can have a better impact from end to end on their people strategies. They can have probably an optimized budget and better governance of the entire thing. And I think that's definitely where we are heading together in defining this new area and in this new space. When I'm asked about what we are doing together, I say there are three reasons why I'm really excited about these. One is the space, and we've just discussed about that. Second is the people and the culture. And third is you as a company, like the partner is the good one in terms of scale, in terms of project, and what you guys want to do with us, to do with 365 Talents. And can you elaborate on that and tell me what's your vision? Because it's really exciting and it's really also comfortable as a founder because you are opening up like an area of possibilities, but also pushing us to be ourselves and to keep, bring lots of value to you as a company, but to your customers and to our
Yes.
customers, to our market. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, 100%. So, first of all, I believe that in my experience of partnership and mergers, the single biggest element of likelihood of success is the cultural and the people compatibility. This by far trumps any technical and go-to-market consideration. If this is lacking or there is a tremendous clash, the likelihood of a success is much inferior. So the first thing I looked at when we started talking about partnering was, okay, but can we work together? Are we going to enjoy each other during the good and difficult times? Because there are always good and more challenging times. And the answer there was a solid yes. I felt that the three founders of 365, who are the ones that I met first, you, Mathieu, and Paul, and then the management team that I met, were all stellar humans and capable in their field. So for me, that is brick number one of the foundation. Then there is brick number two. What do we want to do? Well, if there is a mismatch about who we want to make happy, that's usually where the other risk lays. Docebo has grown and graduated over time differently from you. We didn't pick the enterprise space from day one. We graduated from it. We were pulled into it from the market because in the beginning, and I'm talking 10 plus years ago, the business was catering more towards SMB and lower tier mid-market. Today, the company continues to grow at a greater rate in the mid-enterprise and enterprise business, which means that we work with the same companies that have a similar type of complexity. Third brick is 365 and its capabilities something disruptive, unique that Docebo would have to adapt to, and we need to find a fit? No. Meaning, it's unique in the way you do things, but our customers at Docebo have been asking us to be skills deep for a long time. And to an extent, we've tried to address that need. But the reality is, in order to build a skills technology company, you have to have depth and expertise. And we didn't possess that. Now, we could have built it, but the time to market would have been very long. For this reason, we thought that partnering with you was the right decision. Fourth, and I know it hurts some people, products. Products are very important, especially, our customers in the end judge us on the basis of, okay, but are these two good products? Are they well integrated? Well, that's the job now. We already have customers in common with a simple integration, I would say. But our ambition, actually, our project is to make the two systems become so deeply integrated with simple yet valuable workflows, but then having AI really create a ton of value on top of the two platforms that we will just delight our customers. We will make them go nuts about what we can do together. And I think that became so evident so easily by looking at two products. So those are four streams: people, go to market, products. These are things that I think about. That are the pillars behind this decision.
Yeah, cool. And I mean, that's exactly the story we can share to the market, to our customers. And I can tell you, I've been talking to lots of customers over the last few days about the announcement, about the story, and they all agree with that story and they are really excited. So if they
And
are, we are.
I forgot one thing. I think that's actually very important. We share not only from a cultural standpoint, we share, European roots. I was born and raised in Italy, migrated to North America as an adult. I have to refresh my French. Is that how you say it? I don't remember. But brush my
Rafraîchir.
French. Yeah. And the value that we can generate to each other is certainly you are a very well-known entity and leader in the French market, which for us on a comparable basis is a younger market. We didn't open our first French office until a few years ago, whereas you are very well positioned in the French market, and this can support our efforts in the region. But then conversely, we have 4,000 active customers in the world and a greater presence in North America with about 75% of our revenues and a go-to-market motion and architecture that we can help you accelerate the really establish the brand of 365 more in markets outside of France as well. And I believe we're very good at this, and that's why 1+1 = 4, 5, 6.
100%. And that's why it was a good moment for us as well, because we wanted to have this impact. And we had different ways to do it. And doing it with you guys for all the good reasons we've talked about was an evidence. So it's a true pleasure to be exploring the world and presenting our value to more customers in new
Brilliant.
geos. Awesome.
Love it. Thank you, my friend. Merci.
Thanks.